Hey kids, welcome back to our second Twitch TV episode. Actually, might be the first one because the last one didn't work. And we are in the middle of actually doing a really cool pull request where we're modifying one of the open source projects we use to work better for us and everyone else who uses it. So we made a bunch of changes here, which I'll go ahead and sync back up to our fork of the reactive-coffee repository and returned to our TextMate editor, where we're looking at a couple of the things that we need to test to make sure that we're doing what we're expected to do. And right now we're going to check attributes. So we're copying this boilerplate from the HTML tags that were already part of reactive-coffee and making sure that they work with the SVG tags. And so far everything seems to work fine, except for that. Actually, we found one problem where we weren't copying over the right property setter, and now we'll see if that's working. So we want property X to be 10. And then, don't know what all those things are, so I'm going to ignore them for now. And let's see what we can do with this. Actually, first, we're going to do this standard trick where we first make sure the test fails so that we can tell that it's actually running properly. Yes. Awesome. Although it looks a little bit worse than we expected. I think it'll be easy to make this fail. And put a little diagnostic print there. Yeah, alt prop is not passing. And what is it? It is an object SVG rect element, which is good, but the prop thing is not. This may be our same issue where the way SVG is doing properties is different than its set attribute to the name of a property value. If we do alt get attribute, worth a try. Let's see if it works. It'll be symmetric to the thing we're trying to create. Let's try it and see what happens. Grunt, grunt. Woohoo! It passes. So we know it's creating objects with those parameters. So what else is our framework doing that we need to be testing for? Well, let's flip through the code, which frankly I don't understand terribly well. We know that we're creating these things with attributes. We are setting properties on them. Creating text nodes, although which way it matters, it seems like most things are attributes. Really, the big thing is this huge, massively long list of tags. The other thing that we can do is look and see how they tested the our role model here, the RXT. Text contents. Object creation was one step there. So yes, under tags. Okay. So it was testing the attributes. Should have child contents. Attribute ID and class parsing. Creatable with id.class.class2. This one actually does have special attributes. Don't actually know if SVG is supposed to do all those things there, but let's try and see what happens. So we'll just add that to the test. And lest you think I'm being excessively cavalier, I will at least warn the poor guy who's creating these things in the pull request that I've added the tests that I can think of, but if he has ideas of other things that should be tested, I will be glad to validate those as well. Ooh. Did I mess up something when I was doing this? Oh, so why is it? Oh. Wait. I'm confused, as is often the case. So somehow the tags we're creating is causing all sorts of problems here. Let's just make sure it's not just the indentation that's messing everything up. Wait, we did pass that, didn't we? Maybe it's just the indentation. That's why it's really good, kids, to actually commit everything after you test it. Right, now this needs to be something more. Let's see what do we see here, where it's a vertical dictionary and a binding step. So let's just stick that there and see what happens. Getting by testing one thing at a time. And definitely is unhappy with that. Let's just see. Maybe a complete red herring, but it wouldn't be the first time, right, kids? Okay, so basically, it looks like SVG tags take a dictionary. They don't take child. Is that going to be a problem? Yes, that will be, because we want to actually do this. So, good. We've gone from a theoretical case to a concrete use case, which is this guy over here. Just my little SVG fiddle. Come here, my little SVG fiddle. Where are you? You are here. Okay, good. Where we're doing is we're creating a rectangle, and we're creating this puppy here. In fact, this is exactly what we're trying to create. So let's create it. In parentheses and braces. The namespace, but other than that, no reason why this shouldn't work. Okay. Animate transform is not on my list of tags. That would be ironic if I grabbed the. Ho 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 ho. He was being means to me. Is that really the canonical thing. Well, that's why we have a link here, so we can check and see really what Mozilla says and what Mozilla says, since that's what the rest of reactive-coffee is doing. That is what we are going to be going with. Yes. It's decapitalized. Sounds like a really bad event for your startup, since the goal is to usually get capitalized. Okay, animate transform lowercase t. Ah. HTML should take its contents or reads member strings, elements for HTML or null failed. Okay, why is that failing there? Unknown type for contents. Which is different than where. Da, 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 da. So we were seeing this same thing before. An element which has this as its inner HTML, which is very important to be able to do. So this is a real example, and it doesn't look like it's mutating, which is why I am very confused about what they are complaining about. Why is changing this here messing with it there? Like, this is the thing that's failing. But why is changing something down in the SVG layer, HTML, for each fragment, raw HTML, support insertion of arbitrary HTML elements, containing a single element. So first question is there some weird crosstalk? No, this is the tag. ASB. We have nothing here. Does that work any better? Well, that just confuses the heck out of it because there's nothing there at all. If we have just this there, we'll get even more errors. Let's try just, there's an empty argument there. We'll get back to our original error. It doesn't seem to matter really what's there. Let's reduce any possible ambiguity. Let's go back with our rect, make sure that. Yeah, so the way we're doing SVG elements does not appear to be happy when it's tested with nesting. Although when I run it, it seems just fine. Thinkses, wheezes, stuxes. Let's go back here. This is the test case we care about. And this is the code that actually runs the fiddle. Now, when I was talking to Yang about some of the problems I had with the documentation, he said that the fiddle was out of date, that the code itself, the framework, was actually updated correctly, which could mean that maybe it's a actual bug that this thing works in the fiddle and it won't work otherwise. But let's just try one more thing. See if Let's make it a much simpler name inside. Expect. Is there a CoffeeScript block comment? Three blocks, even better. Okay, that should pass. Yes, okay, so that part passed. Then if we just do this should fail. Does it fail the exact same way, the exact same place? Yes. And I have no idea why. So the question is, what do I do about it? I think that I am in over my head, and I may need to figure out for the fiddle to be updated to get that part to work. What I don't know is whether it's going to block any of the other stuff I'm doing with reactive-coffee, but well, let's wrap this up and document it. And so now the question is, how do we submit this test to here? So this nesting attributes thing is let's just see if that is at all. Yeah. Let's see. Nesting. Let's see, object creation. There was something there, right? Tag, show this attributes, and child contents. Right, so that means it should be expect. What do we expect? Should actually copy those child contents. This may actually give us some insight into what's supposed to be going on there. Okay. And then what we really want is expect count 0, SVG That's what we really want. We're really not going to get. Although, whoa, that's interesting. Oh, right. But it's interesting. So we're first expecting not to be defined, right? If we're going to be able to create those there, we need to have those created as the contents. At least we can get this to so what do I do with the Jasmine dance there? Oh. Up at least. At least we're throwing the right error in the right place. Then, though, if we are, maybe in this course we'll get much worse problems, won't we? Yes. But it is at least conceivable that they're related somehow. Okay. So here's the problem. There is no contents thing here. Now, should there be is the next question. Contents. So it's definitely doing something here. Arguments are either nothing, headers object, contents object, or headers object, contents not object. So it's creating these objects. So the tags are there. It's a dictionary, basically. Tag names and tag constructs. And the tag is something that takes two arguments, right? Arguments return null. And that's a deconstructed assignment here. That's interesting. this nil thing, then it's just nil. If it's just arg2, well, if arg2 exists, then pass everything. Else, arg1 is a string or an element or something funky, then treat that as the contents, not the argument. Otherwise, treat arg1 as the adders and ignore everything else. Okay. Now we create an element in the SVG namespace. Good. If it's not a special attribute, and if the value is an observable cell, then do the set property thing. I should have done this more. Unlikely to help, but worth a try anyway. Worth a try anyway. Yeah. Probably still a good thing to do, and it's good that I'm actually reading through the code I'm importing into this poor public source project to see if I understand it. Okay. Okay. If the value is an instance cell, then create text node. Right, so we have constants. Okay, this is what happens normally. That all seems to work fine, even if I had a little typo there. But then the question is, what happens here? More importantly, was there anything in this fiddle here that I was just assuming would work beautifully, like the special adders? And the special events that I should be thinking through. I think that's a great question. I'll talk about it next time, back on doing awesome stuff badly. Hope you'll join me. Goodbye.